Can we
Yeah.
try to affirm the other parent? Can we try to let a kid love both parents? And I'm so glad you still know them both and are in relationship with them both. A lot of times that's not the story. A lot
Right.
of times it would make you not have a relationship with your dad or have no relationship at all with your mom, and that's not healthy either. Your kids need to know their grandparents and we don't want those intergenerational problems, continuing to flow downhill, right? So,
Right. Right. No, I mean, the other thing I'd like to add to that too, like to note, to identify like that there is more to it. There's a veil of ignorance with the cycle, I think, and people they can't see it because there's a veil of ignorance there that
mhm,
they haven't been able to lift up and peek under. Big, oh, there's more. There's this direction. They only see what they can from that paradigm, and it's like they haven't been able to shift their mind and their thinking and their thoughts and their emotions to direct it into something different. And so that is something too, like you can't just sit there and say, do better, right? It's, you have to understand that these people, if they don't see it to understand it, they're never going to know what it is. So that's, that's something too, like to be patient with people about, right? And to understand in that people going through this divorce and understanding how the trauma is happening in their lives and everything else, like not everything. Yes, you have your truths. They might be very, very true too, or your truth or their truth and the fact. And this is the fact. This is the truth. But there's much more dynamic to that than what everybody else is willing to add to it. And so we have to take a step back in ourselves and just recognize that in everybody else that most people, I think, I would hope most people intentionally try to do their best with what they have and what they know.
mhm.
But
Nobody
that's
wants to
something,
actually hurt their children. I mean, it's a very rare
right.
psychotic thing when somebody
Yeah.
would
And
do
I think,
something that they know hurts their kid. They think your mom thought she was, I mean, hopefully she thought she was doing what was right. I don't know. She sounds like a broken person who had,
yeah,
I mean, were there intergenerational problems before that for her?
yes.
So she experienced that as a child or experienced adverse childhood experiences
I
probably.
mean, her parents were married, but there was something there that had happened that had hurt her too.
Mhm.
And she opened up to me about it a little bit, but not a lot. And so
I mean,
it,
this stuff just doesn't happen though in a vacuum. Like,
it doesn't.
it would be very unlikely for a mother who, to have this need to bring these men in who are abusing her kids and abusing her. Like, if there isn't anything in the history,
Correct.
it just doesn't usually happen. I mean, I guess it can happen, but it doesn't usually just start from scratch.
Right.
People
Yeah.
who are raised in healthier places don't generally, allow that kind of devolving in their own lives. I mean, they can. I'm not trying to be all completely 100% about that, but
Right.
there's usually a generational component to it.
Right. And so it's, you gotta be forgiving because it's for the kids too that had come up in things like this and had their parents like that. Like if they're still carrying that angst and they're like, they're probably someone like, no, not never gonna skip, no, whatever. You gotta forgive for yourself and being able to just let things lie as they are. I didn't say you have to forget it, but you have to forgive it to become content with who you are.
You
Because
feel
there's
like
only,
you feel like you've forgiven.
yeah, I do. I feel like I have forgiven, but I haven't forgotten, and I'll never forget it. But that's up to what's gotten me further. And I think even in my own personal life and in my career, like if I kept carrying that, that would have been this thing and it would have not allowed me to shift my paradigm to excel further in my career too. And just that true growth.
So,
Yeah.
going back to Columbine, like, what can you tell us about what's happened, like, with that community? Like, is there, like, now more healing, like, where, people kinda lay down that blame and, you know, there's, like, I don't know, maybe a positive heal not so much. I know you said there's some that are, like, still just trauma bonded in a negative way in their lives, but is there also, like, a positive, like, "We survived through this, we've" I don't know, is there anything
I
to
think that's
that?
more, I think that's a greater amount of the Columbine community
A
that was,
positive thing.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, is that there is more of yeah, we have lived through this and we lived through more after now. And
Yeah.
we understood that it doesn't define us, but it's a big part of our decision and discerning process of what we are. Like
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I remember like there was a, a debate on like Facebook. I'm trying to remember where this was or something. And somebody was like, we were talking about like, oh my God, one of my biggest nightmares is um, having my kids grow up and go through a high school shooting or school shooting we did. And I just remember going, well, one of my biggest fears is having my kids grow up to be one of the shooters. And so they like people, what? Oh my God. And some people were like mad about it. Some people were like, whoa, I never thought of that. Actually, a lot of them were. And I think for me too, it like humanizes the shooters too. Like if you think about it, like Eric and Dylan, they were little boys. Like they fell down, they got their knees scraped, they had boo-boos, they had nightmares, they got scared. Their mommy and daddy hugged and kissed them and took care of their boo-boos and those things. Like, they cried, they got upset, all those things. Like, um, and it makes them more human. People don't want to do that to those two individuals because they feel like it takes away from the other victims. But to me, they were human too, and they're flawed and made the wrong decision.
When a school shooting happens since, how does that affect you?
Um, a lot of them I was kind of numb
There's been a
to.
lot, because 'cause there've been a lot of them since.
Yeah, a lot of them kind of numb to. The one up in Connecticut was it Newtown.
Yeah.
That one,
I
because
mean,
that was,
that was little kids.
yeah, that one really, in fact, because at the time too, Mallory was pregnant. And was about to, or yeah, we just found out she was pregnant.
Mm.
And was taking this class in college when we went back. It was called Leading Lives That Matter. And it was one of those ones that it was like, you had to reflect on your life a lot. It was a required course
Yeah.
at Regis University. And it was one of those classes too that impacted me. But at the time that happened, and obviously we're doing these exercises in the course and we're going back through and we have to like write papers, like describing your house. So you have to use as much detail, your childhood homes, grow up as much as you possibly could. Right. Like those were some of the exercises and stuff. And so when you're kind of running through those things and you're thinking, and some of the assignments were a lot of them were based upon like moral ethic and philosophy
Yeah.
type of stuff. And so um, that when those kind of happened, there was deep reflection, especially when that one happened, that just put deep into me, and it brought out this abundance of memory, Columbine, and emotions, sadness, which led to anger, and then sadness again. And that one really impacted me in that way. And it took me a while to
And
like,
that was the Sandy Hook one,
I'm saying that's what it is. Yes,
yeah, it
yes,
was in Newtown, Connecticut, but I think there were like 20 kids who were killed who were little, like
yes.
26 people died, I think, but 20 were little, like 6 and 7-year olds.
Yeah. And you get the crossing boundaries of morality of like guns, and then the gun control debate goes back on and everything. But with all that too, it's like I'm processing again all of those years of therapy in this short time frame again. And I'm like, okay. And
Yeah.
I have to get to a point to try to understand that these are humans and humans are flawed. Like you can look back through all of history and go through like, well, it doesn't make it right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it
Yeah.
doesn't, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the tragedies are more tragic than any other tragedy that came before it. Right. And so that is where I come from in the position of like, this has been happening since civilization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's where do we have to understand though, like what is that social contract that each individual has with civilization? And what do we have in those bounds? And I think it comes back to, for me anyways, of like trying to put that good out in the world, that we're human and we have made mistakes. And that's too simple, the
Yeah.
discussion of it, but it's like, that's wrapped up in a lot of complex and complexity when I say we're human and we've made mistakes.